Sometimes learning can be fun, and sometimes learning feels like you are being ripped apart. Currently, I'm being ripped apart. I wanted to share with you really quickly, really low key, what I'm currently learning in the last couple weeks. When I have to articulate to someone, it helps me understand it for myself. That's number one. Number two is I always want to share with you something that I hope will benefit you. Either you feel how I feel, or it helps you understand somebody else in your life who might be wired like me. The low-key video is thanks to Liz, a new YouTube friend who was like, hey, Melissa, you said sometimes it's really hard to edit and write your script. Why don't you just sometimes just talk to us? I'm like, Liz, I hear you. This one's for you. Head, heart, hands. Now, I was first introduced this concept by my mentor, teaching mentor, like Bible teacher mentor, Dave Kuntz. I think most people would agree that as humans, we think, we feel, we act. These are like our three main modes of connection with ourselves and with one another. But if we look at it through the lens of the Bible, which is what we're here to do, I think about the people that were really good at thinking, like their theology, and they were really good with doing with their hands, but they had a total shut down heart. The Pharisees, the Sadducees. Jesus had a lot to say to them about that. I think about Paul warning, hey, Alexa, what's the Bible verse about being tossed to and fro? That's not it. Alexa, off. I think it was Paul. I'm not sure. Believers being tossed to and fro by every wind and cunning and teaching. Their feelings were letting them be tossed to and fro because they did not have enough structure in their head. We hear James say, don't just be hearers of the word, but be doers of the word as well. What probably came to mind first, if you're like me, was the verses from the Old Testament to the New Testament that talk about loving God with all of your heart, your mind, and your strength. Who I want to be is a transforming learner. I wish that rolled off the tongue a little bit better because it certainly doesn't. But transforming, like ing, is really important, that it is an active process that's happening, and that I am, as a Christ follower, a learner that is transforming into the image of Christ. And it is actively happening as I'm learning through my mind, heart, and doing. Stop doing this. I think most of us as humans will lean toward one of these modes, either thinking, feeling, or doing, just by nature. It's not right or wrong, it just is. And for me, I lean heavily into thinking. For as long as I can remember, like starting at 3 and 4 years old, is that there was safety in escaping to my mind. Because of my household, because of the way that it was safest if I would press down my feelings and then freeze. My doing was frozen, like I was a very frozen kid that turned into a very frozen adult in doing things. And this pattern of living in my brain, pressing down my feelings, and freezing has been deeply ingrained. And because I want to be a transforming disciple or transforming learner that's looking more and more like Christ, I'm starting to understand how much embodying these three areas is so important. And so for the last 3 years, I've really been working hard on this area of feeling my feelings. I'm not sure I'd say I was successful, but I gave it a good go, But over the last 2 or 3 months, I've really started to feel progress where I'm actually feeling my feelings. Now, what I'm learning to do is, as I feel my instinct, the natural pattern that has been ingrained in me, is to suppress. And so what I have to do is I'm learning how to be still. Because the one thing about this transformation process is that it is of the Spirit. If you are in Christ, this transforming, this glory to glory to glory to glory transformation process of reflecting more and more of who God is, that's His work to do. But you got to lay still. And it's in the laying still and in the submitting to it that feels like I'm being ripped apart. because feeling feelings, I did not realize how terrible it feels to feel feelings. It really does feel not good. That's my official statement. Feelings do not feel good when they're negative. So the first thing that I am learning about feeling is to relax into the feelings and to submit to God and to invite Him into them when they feel overwhelming, because I don't know quite what to do with them. And I don't know how to think about them. Like there's no merged process between my feeling and thinking. They're very separate, different containers. I guess it would feel much like laying on the operating table, maybe without any anesthesia, and God, as the great surgeon and healer and physician, is operating. He's the one doing the work, but dang, it hurts, you know? I'm telling myself my feelings are not the enemy, that to become a real transforming learner, this must take place. I must feel. I am also surprised at the time it takes to process my feelings. And I think most of this is because I'm so immature in it. I'm not good at it. And so it's really taking a long time, and giving myself permission and asking others around me, and sometimes they don't like it, but asking others around me if they will give me time and space to be able to sort through, because it's all very confusing. And I'm a little dangerous with my feelings. Like, can I just be real honest? In the last couple weeks, spouting off, being angry, crying. I have cried more. I'm not exaggerating. I've cried more in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe, than I have my whole adulthood. I mean that. I've just cried and cried and cried. And you know, my counselor who has worked with me in this 3 years, especially at the beginning, she would ask of me, because my whole goal, she asked me my goal, and I told her it was to feel my feelings. And she asked me, she said, Melissa, what are you so afraid of with feeling? And I wasn't really sure exactly. I didn't know what I felt. But now that I'm feeling more, I am petrified, because it feels as though I'm out of control. I'm remembering a cartoon from somewhere in my childhood, but they've got a fire hose and they're literally like lifted up off the air. The fire hose is the one controlling the whole situation. The little kid is just hanging on for the ride. And that's what these feelings have felt like, that I have minimal control over how I feel. And because I'm trying not to suppress them, they just feel a little wild and all over the place. I don't recommend it. Now, here's the big shocker. Here's the big shocker to me. And you're going to think, Melissa, seriously, that's what you're learning? But I had literally no idea. I've had some feelings going on with a friend, right? So I'm doing this transforming learner. That's who I want to be. I want to look more and more like Christ, which means I can't just have a transformed mind. I want a transformation in my mind, my heart, my feelings, and my action, my doing. And as I've sat in my feelings of hurt and anger, mostly hurt, but it came out in anger as well, there's this strange thing happening as I allow myself to be hurt by a friend who wasn't trying to hurt me, but I was hurt. The feelings, even though they're wild and out of control and I don't really like them, I wish they would behave themselves a little bit better. There is kind of like a light source that comes out of it that sheds light on the other two of thinking and doing. I'll tell you what I mean. As I've sat and I felt so deeply hurt, I have been thinking about how often I have done the same thing that I perceive she's done to me, I've done to other people. And with it has come this deep empathy and remorse. I did not know that shutting down my feelings could shut down a deeper process of learning and thinking and doing. I did not know that. And it's like a light bulb has clicked off in my thinking of like, oh, is there a way? Because I love to think and I love to get better at thinking. So I'm like, this is just a hypothesis. I'm like, if I can feel deeper, does this mean I can think deeper? Can feeling feelings actually shed light on my thinking and on my doing in ways that if I subtract out my feelings, I have a more shallow experience of transformation. I think it's transformation all the same, but a more shallow transformation. I think so. But the jury's still out. I'm still thinking about it and I'm still experiencing it. So what I have done in my doing with my hands, well, really with my mouth, is I've gone back to one person, nope, 2 people so far. I've come back to them. Actually, it was Jared and Andy. I'll just tell you. Jared and Andy, to apologize to them for specific situations where I knew I was doing this thing that I have felt so hurt about that I did to them. It's already been resolved actually years ago. But what I wanted to do and what I wanted to share with them is how much in this experience of being hurt, I have gained new empathy for them and for the way I treated them. I've got one more person to talk to, my friend Ashley, so I'm planning on doing that as well. The other thing that my hands are doing, but I'm still thinking about it, is this experience of feeling such deep hurt is going to put some parameters around my doing in how I think about people, how I speak to people, and how I speak about people, and what I listen to about other people, from other people. Do you know what I mean? I feel very clear in myself of what kind of human I want to be and how I want to view the world and how I want to view other people. I want to do that with love and grace and discernment and wisdom and insight that is beneficial and helpful to them, and that does not tear down and destroy with this mouth. So that's what I'm learning. If you've enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give it a like, and what that does is it just helps the video get out to other people. And if you have not subscribed, I hope you will. Actually, most of you are not subscribed, which is always shocking to me. I will see you next week.